Welcome back to Bad Movies Rule, the worst movie podcast in history. And today we discuss a movie about a computer ghost helping two drunk Canadians trying to stop the leader of an insane asylum from brainwashing the world with beer. That's an actual movie that exists. It's called Strange Brew.
All right, Brady's here, but Kurt phoned it in.
What's up, guys?
Oh, hi. How
How's
are
it
we?
going?
Very special episode today of Bad Movies Rule. We've got Brady Cox in the seat. Not online, but here in person. How are you today, Brady?
I am great. This feels strangely familiar.
Well,
Yes.
you know, it's like
Deja vu
you've
today.
kind of been in the room before,
Is this going to be
Yeah,
like on
for a
February
while.
2nd?
but now you're in the room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Also joining us is Clint Bush. Clint, how are you today, sir?
I'm fantastic.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
You doing
I love
good?
it.
Did you have a nice Christmas a month ago?
Yes, we did have a nice Christmas 1 month ago.
One month
It was
ago.
fantastic.
Definitely wasn't a couple days
It was
ago.
not just a few days.
No, it's not still December.
It's like we've traveled into the future.
Who is that? Kurt Mummer is joining us on the phone instead of in person. Kurt, we were.
Brady steal your seat?
Did Brady send you out to Nebraska? What's going on?
Yeah, I'm hanging out here in Nebraska, just checking out fields and corn.
Awesome.
Did you go to
Yeah.
the zoo?
I did. The zoo's amazing. I don't know if there's a zoo in Nebraska.
Yeah, the zoo. There's one zoo,
Yeah.
the entire state.
Yeah, that's right.
But it is fantastic.
It's nice. It is nice to have Brady here in person because, you know, over 30 some odd episodes, you've been on the show a lot and you've always been on a little tiny computer screen. But here, if you say something, we can just reach over and smack you when you make one of your comments. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it will be.
I'm looking forward to the abuse.
Awesome. Well, let me get the vitals out of the way for this movie. As I said, it's called Strange Brew. This movie was released in 1983 and it was directed, which really surprised me when I looked it up, Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas, who we know are also the stars. But this was Rick's first movie. And he was already directing the film because, as we know, Rick Moranis is an amazing gem of a human being
Yes.
and only a precursor of things to come for him. But it was great. And it was also written by a guy named Steve DeJarnette.
We love his mustard.
DeJarnette, eh? If it was from Canada, that's how they'd say it.
I thought that's what you put on your Italian beef.
Steve was hired to write the script for them, and then they weren't happy with it was basically a version of Hamlet, and so they had to rewrite some of it, but it also they had to keep some of it, and so it ends up kind of being a combination of his script and Rick and David's script. But I think ultimately the vision that they wanted probably would have been better served if Rick and David just written the whole thing. I don't know, but also a side note, Steve Jarnett was the director of Cherry 2000, which is definitely going on our list. If anyone's never seen that, people at home, go and look that up. It's a Melanie Griffith movie that looks absolutely insane. Movie starred Rick Moranis, Dave Thomas, Max von Sydow, Paul Dooley, and Lynn Griffith. Made $8.5 million on a budget of $4 million, so it doubled its money.
Yeah, not bad.
And I really was looking at this beforehand, Brady, and I know you drafted this movie, and so we'll let you go first as far as, you know, telling us why and what you think of it. But as I looked at the vitals of this, you know, we looked at IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, it really doesn't hit any of our parameters for what we would usually require for an episode. It's a 6.7 on IMDb, which is much higher than usually we have. And it's at 75% on Rotten Tomatoes and an 81% audience score. So why are we talking about this?
I like to think that our show also features just overlooked gems, right? Like
Sure.
gems in the rough, right? And I regret to say that this is not one of them, but
But you thought it was going to be.
I thought it was because I hadn't seen it in quite a long time.
So I think you're the only one out of the whole group that's actually seen the movie prior to doing this episode.
First time I've ever seen it.
What was your overall impression of the film?
You know, it wasn't the most terrible thing I've ever seen. I truly believe that if we all sit down and watch this movie together, it's a lot more fun because the characters were good and entertaining. I like their interactions between each other. However, the plot line is meh to me. I didn't really like the up and down of it. It definitely seemed like two different things going on.
100%. Kurt, was this your first time also?
It was my first time seeing this movie, sir. One of the things that I felt about the movie is, and I know we've talked about this before with other movies, and Brady's brought this up, is the fact that the movie doesn't know where it's going. It seems like it doesn't know what kind of movie it wants to be. So it definitely is a comedy, but it just feels like there's too much going on. There's some absurdity, but then there's some realistic moments in it, and it just seems, a little bit like it just doesn't know what line it wants to draw.
No, I would agree with that. I think there's moments where you have to set the tone of the film that you want to make. So in the first part of the film, you've got to establish whatever that is going to be, right? And so if it's going to be, a world of ridiculous things where ridiculous things happen, or if it's going to be, taking place in some form of actual reality, you've got to pick a tone and go with it. And I feel like there's sometimes where they just kind of veer into the absurd unexpectedly without really setting up that.
Absolutely. I feel like it was Wayne's World, only not as entertaining.
I think Wayne's World did it right as far as, a sketch comedy show of, I don't know if Canada has local cable access like we do, but assuming they do, a low budget TV show of two local guys. And Wayne's World did a smart thing of doing kind of a self-contained plot of just what if this local access show was bought by a big network and had to become, a big show and deal with all the nonsense of, oversight and corporate sponsors and all that stuff. And if Bob and Doug had done that, that was really great. That would have been really great, I think. But they instead opted for this just insane world domination through beer plot, which I don't know. I don't think is as good of a way to go with these types of characters. Brady, I don't know about you, but my first introduction to Bob and Doug was on television, right? Did you ever used to watch the old SCTV?
Yes. So SCTV is where these guys come from. Mm-hmm. Not getting too far into the backstory, but what happened was some exec on the Canadian side of things decided that the show needed 2 minutes of Canada facts of some sort, education, and this was basically their FU to them, where they just sent these two idiots on to just spout nonsense.
So the FCC or whatever version of that Canada has, the oversight for television and radio and whoever, basically was saying if you're going to air the show of sketch comedy, you've got to have at least 2 minutes of educational facts about Canada.
Yeah, and let's be honest, so they're the Canadian version, so obviously nobody took it seriously.
Right. Obviously, if this was their answer to that, right, to have Bob and Doug as two broadly drawn stereotypes of drunk Canadians on there giving out stuff.
And any Canadians or SCTV historians listening, and if I got that anywhere wrong, please email us at thisshowstrash@gmail.com.
Yeah, please don't expect us to get literally anything right, because this is the worst movie podcast that's ever been recorded. But feel free to send us some feedback.
Sometimes not recorded.
And sometimes not recorded. There's times we sat here and recorded an entire episode and found out it was just for fun because
somebody forgot to hit record.
We didn't hit record. So those were good. And it was our best episode we've ever recorded.
That never
It
happened.
was.
Yeah, it was our best episode we ever recorded. It lost to time. No one will ever hear it.
We never recorded it. So it's the best episode we ever did.
That's right.
But
It's
the
the best
movie-
recorded. Yeah.
But the movie it was about was
The movie that we
can't talk about it.
it's Cherry 2000.
Of course. Yeah, this is the best episode ever.
Well, I think this is a good moment, too, to bring up that SCTV has brought us so many greats like Catherine O'Hara, John Candy, Eugene Levy.
Yeah, there's lots of Martin Short too. Yeah, absolutely. I almost said, Brady, you told us before, but you didn't. It was essentially the same time that Chicago's Second City was rated for talent.
Right. SNL had started up, and when they did that, they basically went and took all the talent out of Second City Chicago. And these folks in Second City Toronto would be like, hey, we're funny too. What about us? And so they got a TV deal.
We give you a show in Canada, eh? How about that? That's better than Saturday Night Live, yeah.
Right.
It's beauty. It's a whole show and everything. That's right, you hoser. And this is how we got here to where we are now.
James Hoser, everybody.
Don't do that.
Let's talk about what a hoser is real quick.
What is a hoser?
So Yeah, and again, if you're Canadian, please feel free to correct me at thisshowstrash@gmail.com. But if you're a really bad skater, you tend to chop up the ice a lot, and therefore your punishment is to hose it down so that tomorrow you have fresh ice.
So you're like a, Zamboni, like a.
Well, yeah, like a human Zamboni,
Yeah.
like on a lake.
That's terrible.
You would be the guy you didn't want to be the guy hosing it down.
No, because that just meant that you were trash.
Got it. But it's essentially now used just to describe anybody who's being a knucklehead,
Yeah.
right? And there was 3 other terms that these guys used the entire movie. So does every sentence in Canada actually end with A?
No.
Okay.
I mean, we've all watched Schitt's Creek, right?
Yes.
Featuring Eugene Levy.
Yes.
Catherine O'Hara.
Love that show. And that doesn't take place in Canada, but it's a bunch of Canadians.
Yes, it's a bunch of Canadians.
Yes. But still, by the end of the movie, I wanted to drop kick my television. I was so sick of hearing A.
Is A like the up talking that came through hard in the 90s? Like everything that I say sounds like I'm asking a question, and that's just Canada's up talking?
Maybe. Kurt, what did you think of it?
Well, funny story. I actually took a trip to Canada one time with 2 other buddies of mine, Joe Perini and Keith Bentel. And as we traveled through and actually hit into Canada, we went to a local bar there and got some grub. And our waitress actually asked where we were from, and we're like, "Oh, we're from Wisconsin." And she goes, "Oh, how you doing, eh?" And I went, "I'm sorry, don't you guys talk like that here?" And she goes, "No, not at all." And I laughed, and I was like, that is the funniest thing I think I've ever heard, because here in, Wisconsin, we think that the Canadians talk like that, and Canadians actually think we talk like that. So I'm just going to blame it on Minnesota.
We do actually. I mean, even in northern Wisconsin, I've been up in northern Wisconsin and heard people talking like that before, but I've never been to Canada. But there are people in Wisconsin that'll be like, "Oh yeah, I hate air for crying out loud." Like that's a real thing.
And
but it started in the middle.
That's right, eh? For cripe's sake.
So I thought that was funny.
Yeah, well, look, let's dive into this movie because we've got, not a lot of plot to talk about, but we've got some things to talk about because this plot is actually insane, and I can't believe that all of the dominoes fell that had this, actually come out and be a movie. So I'm excited to dissect it. They start the movie off, though, with kind of a fake opening to the movie.
Yeah.
Right?
There's like fake open.
A movie in a movie, and then there's this MGM opening where they've got this heavily sedated lion, and they're just start cranking his tail.
Yeah, maybe we got to crank it up, eh?
Right.
Get it to work right. Because, it's a big cat. It's sleepy.
That's right.
It's a puma.
Yeah, the bobcat.
And right off the bat, at least what it does is it establishes their comedic voice, right? Which is kind of like this. It seems off the cuff. It seems ad-libbed, and I'm sure a lot of it was, but it probably also is kind of scripted ad-lib, especially if these 2 guys wrote it and they know the kind of the voices of these characters. But it's all kind of comes off as we're just coming out off the cuff. We don't know. Nothing's scripted.
Right.
Right? Like at one point, he was like, "All right, so just sit back and it's movie time." Like
he forgot.
What he was going to say. Right, exactly. And so that in and of itself, I think is, you got the first 5 minutes to establish your characters and your tone. And I think they at least do that really well, not with the tone so much as with the characters, but anybody that's coming to see Bob and Doug in a movie probably already know who Bob and Doug are, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I would think.
At least when this came out.
They started out with a low budget premiere, which, we all know how that starts.
Right.
Excitement.
And they had some guy coming out yelling about their album. So I'm assuming that there was an album put out before this movie.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they put out 1 or 2 albums before the movie.
There was they put out a couple of albums, and then there was a reference to it in that scene where there was a riot. People got so angry at this movie being, a rehash of what they had done before that the audience actually started to riot.
Yeah.
Which I'm surprised, Kurt, never happened at any of our premieres because I was always ready for it. I was like, well, just keep the doors open in case everybody wants to make a quick exit.
Well, it's all because we dressed up nice to go to it.
Right.
So it's like, we're not going to fight. I mean,
Everybody's being very polite.
Everyone was very polite.
I've got my clean shoes on.
And then you get the people at the end that go, it was nice.
Oh, I enjoyed it. It's good to be here with you guys. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah.
I'm not really so much with the language, but
Can I be in the next one?
Right. Exactly. I do like the dad in the alley at the end as Bob and Doug are trying to get out of the theater where everybody's rioting, and he's like, what am I supposed to tell my daughter? They spent their allowance money on this. What am I supposed to tell them?
Yeah, and then they blow their dad's beer money on refunding his tickets.
That's right. Which kicks off the entire plot.
Basically.
Right.
yeah, they were supposed to buy beer with that money.
I got to say, though, I would rather watch their movie than this movie. They started this the post-apocalyptic flying van scenario.
The effects were incredible, by the way.
Yes, it was. It was good.
I believe that van was flying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that van was very reminiscent of a movie we've done
Yes.
before as well.
That's right. Seek it out.
I believe it was the same van.
Brady has many copies. If you want one, he can give you one.
I have a gross.
That movie
It's not a joke.
is definitely probably better than the one we actually end up getting. So I'm a little bit sad we don't get to see the rest of the post-apocalyptic, you know, mutants from the year 2017 or whatever that was. I don't even remember.
2055 or something.
2055.
Yeah.
Sure. I thought it was 2057. You split the difference.
Yeah, either way. We'll go 2057.
Well, back to Bob and Doug's family. Here's what I'm wondering. I want to ask you guys. They live in a tiny house in a regular suburb, but these people have to be rich. They have so many empty boxes of beer strewn around the house. What, based off of how much it costs them to go get one case later, or they're unable to.
Well, they had $15.
Right.
But that was the beer money.
But how long does one case of beer last in that house?
12 minutes.
That's what I'm going to say. Probably about 12 minutes.
Yeah. So, 2 beers per minute. Yeah.
Right. So even if he had the money, if he hadn't given the $15 to that kid, then they're having to go back and get beer. Is their whole life just making beer runs?
To the beer store?
Yeah. How do they not have jobs?
I believe that's their gimmick.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Where's all this money come from?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't get any backstory about why they don't have jobs.
And why do they still live with their parents?
Because they don't have money because they spend it all on beer.
Okay.
Boom.
It's a beer family.
With as much time as they spend drinking and having to run and get more beer, at one point, they have an entire semi of beer that they're taking home with them.
This is how the Canadian economy works. $15 does not equal $15 in U.S.
Yeah, they're smaller.
Okay.
A family that drinks together sleeps together.
Apparently, that's true.
Yeah, and if you're Canadian and that offends you, please email us at theshowstrash@gmail.com.
Well, their dad is voiced by Mel Blanc, the legendary voiceover. Mel Blanc, the legendary voiceover artist from Looney Tunes and Warner Brothers, is the Bob and Doug McKenzie's dad, and he screams at them and sends them to the beer store to go get more beer. Are there actual beer stores like this? Because that place is awesome.
Yes.
Where they just shoot the beer out at you?
Yeah, so Canada, you can't buy beer and this may have changed in the years since, but at least at this point, you had to go to the beer store, which was government run.
Okay.
So if you certain states in the U.S. are like this. So I've been to one in North Carolina. You walk in and there's liquor. It's displayed. Everything's very cheap. It looks like the post office. It feels like the post office. It smells like the post office. And the employees are generally not super helpful. They're very much, what do you want? Get in, get out.
Like at the DMV.
Yes.
But with beer.
Right. So everything's like the post office except for the employees, which is like the DMV.
Actually sounds pretty great. If I had to deal with people at the DMV, but I was getting a sixer at the end, I think I'd, have a better time.
Yeah.
Well, what a way to scam the beer store than with a mouse in a bottle. And think of the kind of devotion it takes to build this scam up. Because you have to take a baby mouse and grow it inside a beer bottle.
I have had some friends who were dead set against being productive members of society. And the amount of effort that these people would put into trying to not get a job, it would have just been so much easier to have a darn job and get some money and go get the things you want.
Right.
Yeah.
It really is. You're right. Both of you, Kurt and Clint. I mean, it's a long game they're playing here with this mouse.
Yeah.
And it is incredible the ingenuity and the time and effort they put into it, which could have all been directed at, regular employment.
But here's the thing, too. There actually appeared to be a mouse inside of a bottle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which meant that, they probably glued a bottle together.
I hope that's what they did.
As opposed to actually growing a mouse in a bottle.
Like
Yikes.
a candy, sugar-based bottle or something.
Something. Yeah. They sedated it and built a glass bottle around him. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them because this movie is all about taking the long way around to do very complicated things. The guy at the beer store sends them to the brewery, right? He's like, I'm not giving you money because you say you have a mouse in your beer bottle. You're not getting free beer, so go to the brewery. Maybe they'll do it there. They go, and of course the brewery is built on the top of a mountain. It looks like a castle. Right next to a giant insane asylum because that's probably how it is in Canada, right?
Well, of course.
That's the only two things they have, breweries and insane asylums.
Yeah, you're going to save on construction costs, right?
Right, absolutely. Just build them all together.
Right.
And they go there to the brewery, and there's this woman caught in her car in an electric fence. It's just like the gate is slamming down on the sides of her car, and she can't get out or get through or anything. It's sparking and, all over the place.
You know how security gates work.
Right, exactly. And there was a funny joke that I did appreciate that, the reason that I did it again. The reason that Doug is the capable one to handle the electrical situation is because he hooked up their stereo, eh?
Yeah.
Right? This qualifies him as an electrical genius.
The tires are acting as insulators there. So it's not getting shocked. Don't get out.
Right. Yeah, it's okay. He hooked up our stereo once.
A very intelligent thing he just said there. So
right.
You'll get grounded and fry yourself.
And that's true. She would have.
Well, look, I guess I'm just going to say this now because why wait? I think every time Rick Moranis is on screen, the movie is at its best. Okay.
100% agree.
I can't stand Dave Thomas in this movie.
Dude, he makes some great cheeseburgers though, man.
He straight up sucks. Okay.
Well, and I feel like my problem is there's a couple of different things. One, I couldn't stand the face twitching.
That's part of it.
I don't know if that's part of his character. And I also felt like every time he was playing Doug McKenzie, it wasn't real. I felt like he was being
acting.
Overly funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he wasn't acting. It was just, oh, look, I'm playing a character. And it was like, he was always about to crack.
He's terrible. He's straight up terrible. Yeah. In fact, I defy you to show me one movie, like one classic Dave Thompson movie, even in Rat Race. He's the worst person in that movie. The worst.
I can't name you anything else he's been in.
Because he sucks.
Well, if you look at his IMDb, it's pretty sparse.
It is.
Which is a shame.
Why is it a shame?
I don't know.
Because the cream rises to the top, and the marketplace found him, not good enough, and that spoke, and that's why he ended up with one.
I appreciate.
Here we are in 2022, and people miss Rick Moranis.
Right.
Right.
Who's clamoring for Dave Thomas to come back?
Nobody.
No one.
Not even Rick Moranis.
But I agree with you, Kurt. Every line he says, every little twitch, it all seems forced. It doesn't seem. He doesn't have just natural. It's just
charisma.
Yeah,
there's no charisma there.
He's just the worst. And I know he's got a mother that loves him and good, for her and him.
There's no Bob and Doug without Bob and Doug.
No, but they should have just made somebody else on SCTV Doug. Because literally anyone could have done a better job. Catherine O'Hara would have been a better Doug McKenzie.
Are you saying that potentially a trash can full of dirt could have done a better job?
I'll tell you now, in big print, Bob not Bob. Doug is my trash can full of dirt. Dave Thomas.
Okay, I had somebody different. Well, should we do it now? Since
We'll get to it. No, it's fine. We got to get back to it. We'll do it later.
Okay.
We'll do it later.
Moving on.
He brought it up, but anyway, Dave Thomas sucks. Let's move on. All right.
Where did Dave Thomas hurt you?
He didn't. He hurt me. He hurt me for 2 hours having to sit here and watch his terrible performance. And I'll say this: the character himself is kind of a dick.
True.
He's always a dick to his brother. He's like, "Oh, I saw you do it, and I'm going to tell the police. I'm going to be a witness against you. You're a murderer. It was him. It was him." But he does that kind of. That's not just once. He does it all the time to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, he not only does he suck and he's not funny and he can't really play the part well, but then the character himself is also kind of a dick and not likable in any way, shape, or form.
Well, Dave Thomas fans can email us at this show.
Oh, please. All the Dave Thomas stans that are out there in the world, all 2 of you, send me an email.
Dave Thomas's mom
to
and dad.
this show is trash at gmail.com. I want to know.
Dave.
I want to know who you people are.
Every time somebody uses
sending
the
one
term
in.
stan, I'm just like, dear whoever. So, dear Dave.
That's right. Please.
Well, I believe this is where the part now where they bribe the secretary with donuts.
Yes, they do. They want to get into the brewery.
Which is a great gag.
It is a good gag. It's good.
Yeah.
And I like that it implies they just have donuts in their pockets.
Right.
All the time.
As all good Canadians do.
All of them must have. But the comedy rules apply here in that in reality, you probably wouldn't be handed 2 jobs if you walk into a brewery with a mouse and a bottle.
Right. Because at that point, it shows that you're not trustworthy.
But the difference is this woman who is about to be taking control of this is her place.
Supposedly.
Yeah, this is going to be or should be her place left to her from her father. She says, well, let's get some men back on those lines because the first guy says this wouldn't happen when there was men on the lines because apparently they've just gone to automation.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's some you wouldn't get a job, but, these guys just saved her life.
Yeah, because I think it's important to know in short order the politics going on at the brewery here is the guy that ran the brewery before was killed. We find out later by his brother and the head of the mental patient or the mental ward that's connected to the brewery
Through a tunnel.
And the daughter of the guy that was killed is the actual rightful owner, and she's trying to take it over. So there's some inner family and business stuff going on.
And we mentioned Hamlet before, and so she's Hamlet, and
that's the plot
of Doug of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, if you're familiar, and et cetera, et cetera.
Right. And essentially what happens is, I guess the question is, why on earth is Max von Sydow in this movie? He is an incredible, legendary character actor. And I just don't understand how they convinced him. And I read up on it, and they also thought there's no way he was going to do it. They wrote the part for him. So then when he actually said yes, they were floored. But I don't know how they convinced him to do this.
Maybe he's just
I love him in this movie.
Fan or something.
Maybe they gave him free beer.
Yeah.
It could. I mean, I loved him too, Kurt. But why is he wearing these gigantic teeth in this movie?
Well, and that's what I mean. Like, there's certain points of this movie that the comedy works. Like, I feel like the big teeth, as goofy as they were, I felt like it was distracting to his face and just who he was as a character.
Yeah.
And so I get it from a comedic gag, but at the same time, you're taking away from, okay, so big teeth worked in The Mask. Jim Carrey was able to use that, and it made the character more funny.
Right.
But in this case, I just felt like it was more distracting than anything because it was the only thing that was exaggerated instead of it being like the entire character. So to me, it was distracting.
Yeah. And Max, look, he kind of reminds me of, he's done a lot of movies and they haven't all been winners, but he's very, very good. He's very intense in general in most of the films. That's why he's usually cast as a bad guy in most of the movies that he's in. Right. But in this, it's kind of supposed to be more of a lighter comedy. It kind of reminds me of what Tom Cruise did in Tropic Thunder, where Ben Stiller came to him and said, "Hey, will you play Lex Grossman?" And he's like, "Yeah, but on 2 conditions. I want to be fat and I want to have big, fat, hairy hands."
Right.
Right. And he's like, okay, fine. That's kind of weird, but sure, go for it. And it ended up being brilliant. It's almost like Max was like, all right, I'll play the part, but I want to have
Ridiculous teeth.
ridiculous
Giant
teeth.
Yeah.
Right?
And until Kurt pointed it out, I didn't.
You didn't notice?
No,
He had these huge fake chompers.
I didn't notice.
You just thought that was how he looks, like his face?
Sure,
I have no idea.
Oh, wow. You guys got to watch more Max von Sydow movies. He was in Judge Dredd. He was the old judge that goes out
Wanderer,
and,
yeah.
and
Wasteland,
exiles him. Yeah.
Yeah.
He didn't have giant teeth in that movie.
Yeah, I don't know. I just if that was
Modern
supposed to be like
dentistry.
a comedic thing, he
Yeah.
failed really hard at it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, and this to me is where sort of the how do I want to say it? The over exaggerated gags start. I mean, first off, you got to believe that there's an asylum attached to a brewery.
Yeah.
Then you got to believe in the giant teeth. And then this leads into where they go into the old cafeteria. They pick a door lock with a credit card. And then they find out that the electric father, whose ghost is now going into the spirit of some old arcade game.
Well, we don't know that till
information.
yeah, but we won't know till later that that's the father. But yes, that's essentially what happened. That his ghost is in the machine.
Right.
Right.
He's an electric father giving high scores on video games.
Exactly.
And they turn the power back on to this cafeteria that has some video games and vending machines, and then they drink 4-month-old unpowered up chocolate milk
Right.
because Canada.
Yummy.
At this point in the movie, we learn what the scheme is, which is they've tainted the beer. Well, when I say they, Max's character, the brewmeister, who's also the head shrink at the insane asylum, has tainted the beer with something that allows him to control people
By sound.
Through music.
through music. And so this was so jarring. It randomly cuts to like stormtrooper hockey game,
Yes.
Yes.
like out of nowhere.
They're testing these tones. What tones make them do what?
And so I'm like, there's a bunch of mental patients dressed up in hockey gear, forced to fight each other for their amusement, just to see if this works.
Right.
And this is what it's so much random stuff happens. It's hard to even track.
You just don't understand Shakespeare, bro.
Or you think this is
I love Clint referencing Shakespeare. This is by far the best thing I've heard today.
you think this is what Shakespeare had in mind when he wrote Hamlet? Was a bunch of mental degenerates dressed up like stormtroopers beating each other up
Obviously.
on a hockey rink inside of a beer brewery
In Canada.
in Canada?
Next to a insane asylum.
Maybe.
Can I make a reference to? I
No.
find it very odd, right? So this movie was made, we were 4?
Yes.
So 1983, I think this
Now
movie
everyone
came out.
knows how old we are. Thanks.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
okay.
And so
We were all born in
Return of the-
79 except Brady.
Wasn't Return of the Jedi? Didn't that come out in 83?
It did.
Yeah, they reference it.
So how do they? I guess like if you're filming a movie in a time like
Yeah.
they had to have started filming the movie then in 83, but
Well-
wasn't it? Isn't the year it's released 83?
I actually can tell you because they talked about this. They didn't know at the time whether it was going to be Return or Revenge of the Jedi because they had changed the name twice, and so
I see.
and they knew the movie was coming out when they were filming it. It hadn't come out yet, so that's why they say he's seen Jedi 30 times, and they just said Jedi and didn't say
Gotcha.
Return or Revenge. Yeah.
Because I was just like, that's interesting. Like, how did that even? Because if both movies came out in 83, that's where I was kind of like, all right, well, something's goofy there.
Now it's a little weird.
Oh, and fun fact, the hockey player, it's like, was it Gold Leader 1 or something?
Yeah, and he was in Star Wars. Yeah, in the
he was
first one.
He was in Star Wars. He dies in it, but yeah.
Right. That Rosie.
Tragic.
Yeah.
Rosie.
Who's a
A character we haven't even mentioned yet because it's just
wonderful actor.
nonsense happening all the time. But essentially, they end up, during the hockey game with the asylum patients, they end up in the control room, Bob and Doug, and their clothes had been stolen by the bad guys, who then, trank dart the girl and the other guy that helps her run the brewery. And so they're framed them, but while Bob and now stick with me here, people. While Bob and Doug are in the control room, they randomly press some buttons and get a disc
Yeah.
that has all the incriminating evidence
The one disc
one
out of
disc.
all of them.
out of all of them.
But
From
didn't he just
random
jam in
buttons.
some buttons, though?
Yes.
Because when they look at it and they zoom in on it, he put in the birthday from
Right.
the video game.
Right.
Right. Which obviously that's what the message
Yeah,
is
they were
trying to
giving
say.
him the codes that they needed. So,
Right.
yes, they did know exactly
It's just-
which one to push to take the damning evidence.
It's just all gobbledygook
Yeah.
at this point in the movie. From kind of here to the end, it's just like a rolling ball of like it just picks up everything in its way, and here we go on to the end of the movie, and it's just
What's
like
happening?
right.
It seems like random ridiculousness, but by the end of the movie, it's like, yes, it's random ridiculousness that got us exactly where they wanted us to go, sort of.
Yeah,
And can I ask you guys something?
sure.
How many times did you think the movie was ending?
Oh, many times.
I had one question when this thing finally ended and then the information came back up on the screen. It's like, this thing was only 90 minutes long?
Yep.
Right.
What took me 3 hours to watch it?
Yeah, it did. It felt like it. It really felt like it.
I remember watching this movie so many times and falling asleep.
It's a and for
That's a great
that
draft
it rules.
Right.
Because
If you
it's
fall asleep.
it's great for that.
Next movie I get that absolutely sucks, I'm going to put it on my draft pick.
There you
Why'd
go.
you pick it? Yeah, it helps me sleep.
There you go.
There you go.
It rules for that reason. The bad guy's brilliant plan now is to cut Doug and Bob's brake lines and then follow immediately behind them in their car.
Right?
Yeah. Not even like within like a few cars distance.
No.
It's like right on their
Just
bumper.
right up on their bumper.
I mean, that's a good way to set an alibi. Be directly next to the person who dies.
That's right. So weird. Especially you follow them to their house. Right? You can't be like, oh, I was just going this way. They stop off. They did not expect this because they got to feed Hosehead,
Right.
the most insane dog that's ever
Dog
been
painted
on
to look
television.
like a skunk.
Yes.
And
Poorly, by the way.
I lost my spot.
They stopped by the house.
And when they stop by the house, two of the funniest things happen in the entire movie. They play the disc on the record player. They're like, oh, it's one of those British new wave bands.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a floppy disk.
It's a floppy disk. They're playing on a record player. And then they walk in on their mom and dad getting after it in the bedroom.
Themselves.
Also played by Dave Thomas and Rick Moranis.
Which I didn't catch on to.
Yeah. But they leave,
Yeah.
and then it continues to get worse and worse as they are now not having any brakes in their car because they had said that, they have enough for 2 stops, right?
Well, and can we rewind for a second too? So
No, we're trying to move towards the end.
they have 2 barrels. They have 2 barrels in the back of the van that were
Right.
loaded up by the bad guys, who I believe have the daughter and
Uncle.
the helper guy, the uncle. I don't know what he is per
The
se.
plant
but-
manager.
The plant manager,
Yeah,
we'll call
the
him.
plant manager. Thank you. Inside the back of the van.
They're stuffed in there.
Yeah, and they were told that they were going to deliver beer
To
to
a
some
party.
birthday party. That was the whole reason why they were supposed to be leaving
Right.
and heading out in the van.
But when the van can't stop and they get launched into the river,
Yeah,
one of the kegs ends up splayed out on the road,
Right. Which is the plant manager.
which is the plant manager, we find out,
Yeah, who
ends
gets-
up in the hospital.
yeah, gravely injured.
And then the other one is with the girl, with Lynn in it, goes
Damn.
into the water and is just going to drown essentially until
She's
Right.
barely able to swim to the surface, can't stay at the surface.
Right.
Wasn't it the plant manager dives back in?
it was Rosie, the hockey
Rosie,
player,
the hockey player. You're right. Rosie goes.
whose
dives
job
back
in this movie is to just show up at the most opportune times
Yes.
and do something important.
I
Right.
mean, yeah.
So
every
he tosses
factory
in.
needs one of those.
Right.
Jumps down there, goes, saves her, gives her his air, and then proceeds to drown immediately himself.
Is that a real thing you can do?
No, because
swim-
she was unable to swim.
Transfer
while
the
she
air.
Had air.
Right.
Right. So all of a sudden she gets
Oh, I can swim again with this used air.
mouth to mouth
Used
from this
air.
dude, and all of a sudden
I
she
don't
can
know.
swim.
It worked. It worked for Splash.
Well, but that doesn't mean it could really work because they did it in Splash.
Well, let's be honest. This movie is not
No,
a bastion of logic and
it's not.
reason.
So we're not going to pull too hard on that. But the movie veers just even more into the crazy. I mean, just the more it goes, I feel like we got red lasers shooting out of monitors, ghosts flying around.
Well, let's talk about the underwater scene. Like,
yeah.
Being alive by breathing in beer bottles.
Oh, and then them being under the water for how long?
Getting pulled
Over 10
over
minutes.
by somebody underwater, that's the funny gag, but like it wasn't worth it based on like all the other garbage that they had to do. And
Right.
it's just
So for those of you who don't know,
horrible.
Bob and Doug are still in the van that's underwater, and the cops are like, oh, well, no, they're not alive. No one survives that long. And they dive down there to find that they're still just sitting in the van, breathing air out of beer bottles, just underwater in the front seat, buckled in like they were just like they're chilling in the parking
it's
lot.
a Sunday drive.
Yeah.
No big deal.
No, it's totally ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just a very big stretch for a lame joke.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. I don't know what this movie wants to be. Does it want to be a spoof movie? I mean, you got the moment where the guy comes up and he goes, you know, if this was a Naked Gun movie, and he goes, I'll handle the press, and then he karate fights all the press, you know, right?
That was I laughed out loud. at
Yes.
that part. Yes.
But does that belong in this movie?
I don't think so.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's a hilarious bit.
It is.
Oh, are you talking about when he launches the guy into like the concrete abyss? And just starts like karate chopping the girl in the throat.
Yeah, when he fights the reporters.
He's like their lawyer.
Yeah,
or
the
something.
lawyer. Right.
Yeah, I'm just saying these are the moments that kind of veers off into this absurdist stuff.
That was one of the funniest moments.
It was hilarious.
Yeah.
But
I'll take care of them.
I'll handle the press. Wow. That was great. Just it had nothing to do with Bob and Doug and shouldn't have been in this movie. But and then the trial itself is utterly ridiculous.
No, absolutely. I mean, plug in nosebleed with bullets and then laughing and it shoots it off.
That's what I'm saying.
Come on.
It's a cartoon. It's like it wants to be a cartoon, which it actually became a cartoon.
And I would like to add that these videos are not altered or edited in any way, which and they have a timestamp, which is very, very hard to falsify.
I mean, just because
Could you
they
explain
can be
time code
fake.
to me, please?
Well, just because I can't doesn't mean they're not real.
Right.
Right. The whole thing's a farce. And really the bad guys in this movie are the worst cover-up artists maybe ever.
Yeah.
So many loose ends.
They're completely inept.
So many loose ends. You got the plant manager who is still alive.
Right.
The guy goes to the hospital, got Rosie who's still alive, tries to kill him in the hospital with the syringe.
Right.
The nurse walks in, and so he just injects some other random person.
Right.
And just throws a pillow up in the air and leaves.
Yeah.
And, everybody can see who that was. The girl is still alive. All these people know the truth of what really happened.
Right.
And they're all just still,
we still got Ghost Dad out there.
Ghost Dad knows what's up.
Right. And not Bill Cosby.
No.
Oh, yes, different Ghost Dad.
No, but probably a better movie than this, though.
Less Rufalin.
And Ghost Dad's a legendary bomb.
Yeah. Let's probably go.
I've never seen Ghost Dad.
Me neither. Probably should go on the list.
It should go on the list. It's going on the list.
Okay.
I hate you both.
I don't want to watch that either.
Here, I try and find reasons that movies ruled. Okay, you know that I
Yes.
do. And I think there, as I said, are some funny bits. But to me, the thing I got the most enjoyment out of was here at the end as the bad guy's plan is falling apart, is we got to see something I never thought in my life I'd ever see. Okay? Which is Max von Sydow fighting a bunch of mental patients in hockey gear inside of a brewery.
It's just pretty funny.
Right? I'm like, this is insane. I'm just sitting here watching it going, how is this a thing that exists in the world?
How do we come to this?
Yeah.
So he was the guy squishing people's heads.
He was the guy squishing people's heads.
That was that dude was amazingly strong.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
He's smashing people's head through protective stormtrooper gear.
Kurt,
Yes, sir.
you think Dave Thomas sucks?
Absolutely. 100%.
Thank you.
We're back.
All right,
to
let's
this.
keep going.
All right, just he's going to ask me in another 5 minutes. Watch.
All right, so here's the one more ridiculous thing that happened. Well, there's more, but the next ridiculous thing that happens in this movie is Bob and the girl, played by Lynn Griffin, get trapped in this beer vat,
Right.
Yes.
which is going to fill up and drown them.
Yes.
Right.
I love that.
But we are supposed to believe
Yes, I love this.
that he drinks it all.
Yes. 6,000
Yeah.
gallons.
After he pees in it.
After he pees in
He
it.
already peed in
You're
it.
right. He already peed in
This is
it.
getting
Right.
warm.
That's right.
I didn't even think about that.
They
I
made
didn't
that swimming
notice
joke
anything.
with the pee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's diluted.
How did I miss that? He drank his own pee.
Yeah.
The alcohol would have fixed
Well,
it.
so did Bear Grylls, so I guess we're.
I mean, we were
Survival
kids.
is
We all
survival. You
drank
drink
the
your
pool
pee when
water.
you're
Bob
to survive.
McKenzie, Bear Grylls,
Oh yeah,
cut from the same cloth.
yeah. They're both
Survivalists.
I can't back this up, but they're both Canadian, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
We'll say he's Canadian.
Can't back it up. I don't know.
We'll go with that.
Sure.
We're not going to do any research.
This show is trash at gmail.com. If you have any corrections,
You got a 50-50 shot at
Yeah.
He either is or he isn't.
right?
So he drank the urine beer so much that he is now a giant balloon man.
I think
Yeah.
that's amazing. The
Everything
compressive
but his head.
skills. The compressive skills of his body, however, are amazing because
Yes.
the amount of liquid that he drank would have filled the vat to drown them. However, it only takes up like a quarter of it while it's inside of his body.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that is an amazingly good
Right.
at compressing a non-compressible substance.
But he's also none of the beer ends up in his head, though, either.
Right.
No.
That stays perfectly the same shape.
Yeah, just the fat suit.
Just fills up the fat suit.
Right.
And I love he's like, oh, I got to take a leak, and then it's like 20 seconds, and
Right.
then he's back to his normal size.
Right. He puts out the
He
fire.
puts out the fire, yeah.
He puts out the fire with
You
his
ever
pee.
want a job at the fire department, you let us know, eh?
Well, that means he just have to constantly drink so much beer that he
Right.
gets to be huge, and then he just puts out structure fires with his piss.
Fire hosing some structure fires, yeah.
That sounds like
And
a
then
horrible
gets
superhero.
offered a job by the firefighters.
That's right. Oh my gosh.
What would that superhero even be called?
Fire piss man.
Fire piss?
Two on
That's a
that.
totally different superhero. Fire piss.
That's different?
He
I
pisses
would
fires.
call him.
Fire. that'd
I
be
would
cool.
call him the extinguisher.
Oh, there you go. The Extinguisher, played by Rick Moranis. You got to get him to play it.
Yeah.
The bad guy's plan is foiled, and there is one last loose end for them to tie up. Is that the beer already went to Oktoberfest?
Oh
Yes.
God, no.
Yes. And so we need to stop Oktoberfest. What should our plan be? Should we ride over there with the police
Or maybe
and
call him on the phone.
call them on the telephone? Should we do that? Should we get the
No.
fire department involved?
No.
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 What should we? Oh, let's paint our dog to look like a skunk,
Well, he's already.
and he'll
looks like
fly
that.
there.
and we'll learn at just the right moment he's hiding some kind of fantastic powers,
Right.
like flight.
Well, again, we're at the superhero part of the movie.
And he's gonna and the dog is gonna scare everybody away when he gets there.
Because
And
they
then
think
eat all
it's
the
a skunk.
sausages.
And even though it looks like they've already well into drinking the tainted beer.
Yes.
Yes.
They've all been drinking beer.
Yes.
Assumedly, it's not the good beer yet. Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah.
All right.
Well, him and the inspector, they all show up. Rosie and Pam and the inspector, and then they're like,
What do you,
you know,
what do
this
you
is
do
our
with all this beer?
jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bust in, they're just like, good job, guys. And they're like, what a dog. It was like there was no proper ending to it. It was just like, how are we going to end this movie quickly?
Well, let's get Dave Thomas off the screen as fast as possible. That's kind of what I was hoping would happen.
Nope.
I mean, it does have like a Monty Python Holy Grail ending.
Yeah.
It's just like take a complete left turn.
They just take the beer, the tainted beer,
Okay, we're done.
and off they go.
Yeah.
All right, boys. Well, look, if there's anything in your notes, anything at all, it's time now to talk about the little things. What are some little things in this movie that you noticed that you want to bring up here before we put a bow on this thing?
Rick Moranis is not tall.
Oh, gosh, no. He's famously short.
I see
Yes.
what you did there.
Little
The
things.
little things.
How short is Rick Moranis? Do we know?
Taller than Kelly.
I would guess he's probably like 5'3".
Oh, I was going to say 5'6", but
Oh, maybe.
He's probably the same
I was gonna.
height as Tom
I
Cruise.
wanted to bring up for the little things. I wanted to bring up the fact that we missed the Strange Brew theme song, which seems to be a trope of the '80s.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, you got to have a theme song with the name of the movie in it,
Right. Otherwise, what are you doing?
or at least, at the very least, a song that sings about the plot and what's happening.
Absolutely.
Yes. Much
Gotta
like
have
Howard
it.
the Duck.
Love those. Love those. Yeah.
I also want to mention the fake dog being dragged up on the roof, which
Yes.
made me laugh when they get the disc back.
Yes. That was terrible.
Yeah, that was a great effect.
In the best way.
Spend too much money on Ghost Dad.
I like the video game Galactic Border Patrol. I want to play that game.
Right.
What is that all about?
Because
Absolutely.
we know it's Canadian Border Patrol, right?
Right.
Not just.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
And there is as terrible as Dave Thomas was in this movie. There was one line that he said that I enjoyed, which was when he's again being a dick to his brother and talking about how he's going to get raped in prison. He really is the worst.
funny.
He's the worst. Where are you going to be? I'm going to be in the cafeteria selling smokes.
Yeah.
That made me laugh. And I went right back to hating him. Because he's
It's
a combination.
prison. The careers aren't, very.
Right.
You don't have a whole lot of options.
Right. The bad performance combined with the fact that he's so unlikable. Anyway,
My prison career guidance counselor told me I'm going to be raped repeatedly.
Ouch. It's got to be rough.
That's not going, is it?
Yeah.
no, time out. No, that's not, no. I'll probably leave that one. That's not bad. We're not talking about raping women, so I feel like it's not.
Oh, so it's okay as long as it's me being raped.
Yeah,
Got
exactly.
It. Got it. Okay. Sure.
What was I going to
And
say?
then the
Oh,
only
any
other
other little things before I move on? Just I want to give you guys a chance. If you don't have one, I'll just go to awards. Okay.
Yeah, I think
No,
we
I
talked
wanted to
about
bring up the fact that Mel Blanc was in the movie we mentioned, but
Yep.
he was also the original voice of Barney Rubble. And then we have Rick Moranis in there as Barney Rubble. I thought was a fun little fun fact.
We had 2 Barney Rubbles in this movie, and it was still bad.
Well, yeah, Dave Thomas.
Oh, that's true. See, Dave Thomas is
No
like
cue card.
Not the guy from Wendy's.
a charisma black hole. Okay, and he just even Rick Moranis couldn't be pulled out of its the suck zone that is around Dave Thomas.
I just really just want to disagree with you, but I really can't find any arguments.
I like the guy.
There's a reason.
I don't know why. That's what we're saying right here.
Well, look, we got to give some awards to this movie. We're going to give it some flowers. And as we always do, we start off with the Will Patton Award for intensity. Who do you guys have as your Will Patton Award winner?
I truly believed that the guy at the beer store was 100% pissed off at these guys trying to fake
He was good.
beer.
He was good.
I was going to go with Dooley.
Dooley. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, I feel like his acting was, done well
Yeah, he wasn't bad.
throughout the entire movie. He was believable.
Yeah. I went with Max von Sydow. I just think the dude played the part of the brewmeister like he was like as serious as a car accident, right? I mean, in this ridiculous movie. And so he was very intense, crushing people's heads and whatnot. So that's who I gave it to. Kurt?
I'm giving mine to the attendant, the parking lot attendant. Hey, $6.50, man, $6.50.
Oh, the guy that is mad that everybody keeps driving out of there without paying for their parking.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
I completely missed that.
He was pretty good. I almost, as an honorable mention, went with the dad that was mad. What am I supposed to tell my daughter? In the beginning,
Yeah, that was good.
he was really into it. All right, it's time for the Dave Thomas Award. Trash can full of dirt, which is
Oh, man.
The Dave Thomas Award.
which is
Is
an
that
award.
what we're going to start calling it now?
Which is an award we give out to someone whose performance was on par with the emotional range of a trash can full of dirt. And I am giving mine to Dave Thomas.
Surprise.
I'm gonna go with that too.
All right. Thank you.
I'm going to go with my original pick, which is Rosie,
Rosie.
the hockey player.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible.
He's not good.
No.
Not at all.
Again, Dave Thomas has more emotional range in this movie than that guy.
No, he sucks.
I was going to give mine to the Weird Al lookalike helper guy that was kind of helping the bad guys who got repeatedly shot and tranquilized. But
Weird Al.
I really want to give. Well, he kind of looks like Weird Al without the long hair and the.
If you don't have the perm, you're not Weird Al.
Every white guy looks like Weird Al without the perm and mustache.
He's very straight laced.
Yeah.
But due to other findings in this movie, I'm giving it straight up to Dave Thomas.
All right. So Dave Thomas is our winner of the Trash Can Full of Dirt Award. All right, guys. Our top 3 performers now. Who do you think gave the best 3 performances in this movie, Clint?
Rick Moranis was going to be on the top of that list.
Yep.
Our the daughter, obviously.
Yep.
She's going to go in
Lynn
on
Griffin.
my number 2 spot, my number 3 spot. It's the head crushy dude.
Oh, Max von Sydow.
Yeah, for sure.
Fair enough.
I love that.
He's great.
I don't know what it was, but just that fight scene alone, he's just like, this guy is really strong. I can't believe this.
It takes a lot of pounds of pressure to do that.
Yeah, because I already gave the that other award to
the
Dooley.
Will Patton can still be used.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say what
yeah.
Clint said.
Okay.
What that guy said.
Those 3. Same 3.
Holy crap. We agree
Same
again.
order.
All right.
I'll pie.
Well, I got Rick Moranis number 1, same as you guys, but I've got Max von Sydow's teeth at number 2.
The teeth.
Okay. And then I got Lynn Griffin at number 3. Kurt, how about you?
I mean, it's the same 3. I went 3 Pam, 2. I went with Bob McKenzie, Mr. Rick Moranis. I felt like he's no matter what, he's always believable as a dumb oaf.
Yeah.
And then I went with number 1 with the evil brewmeister. I just thought he was a really great villain, and I felt like he deserved my number 1 spot.
Awesome, man. Well, look, guys, it's time to ask the question. As we've examined this movie from all possible angles, and there weren't many, is this full stop a bad movie? Is it a bad movie that rules, or is it a straight up good movie? What do you guys think?
In concurrence with all 1.5 podcasts we've done about this movie, it is terrible.
It's not just bad movie.
No,
straight up.
it is not it's not a bad movie. It doesn't even go that high.
Okay.
It doesn't even make it up to bad movie territory.
Wow.
Again,
It's a terrible movie.
I know. I like the joke.
Yeah.
It's not a great movie. Don't go and watch this movie. It's $3.99. They want you to pay for it in high def. This was written in 1983 or shot in 83. There was no high def. It's a scam.
Get the SD. It's $1 cheaper.
I didn't see an option.
And then you'll see it as the director originally intended.
They hide it.
It's so terrible.
Yeah. Brady?
This is a bad movie.
Yeah.
There's no way to get around it. And there's no logical reason for me to want to watch this again, but I know I will.
Yeah. I probably will too. Come across it at some point. Not on purpose, because this movie is bad. It's got enjoyable parts, but it's not enough enjoyable parts to make it a bad movie that rules to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think it fills a gap in like comedy history.
Sure.
In some way, shape, or form. So it's important in those ways.
This isn't a referendum on the characters themselves. I think this is a good example of sketch characters that should have stayed sketch characters.
Yeah.
That work in 2 to 5 minute.
Like a very
blocks.
early. It's probably the first example of such.
Right.
You want to watch Bob and Doug? Go and watch Brother Bear.
Yeah.
Check out the Mooses. Done.
Done.
Forget about the
Or watch.
Bob and Doug.
Go on YouTube and watch a couple other skits from SCTV.
Get their listen to their comedy albums on
Yes.
on whatever your platform of choice is.
We'll sign off and endorse all of those things.
Yes.
The brothers are good in other venues. This was not it.
No.
This was not
They
it.
could have made a fantastic movie and chose not to.
Right. Kurt, how about you, buddy?
I really can't say anything that's going to add. You guys literally nailed it. It's a bad movie. I think, if you really want to watch it, watch it with some friends,
Yeah.
but it definitely does not rule. It is a rough movie to sit through, definitely by yourself. And I agree with Brady in the sense that it fills some gaps. I think it needed to happen in order to have some predecessors. Or is that, am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
The fact that Wayne's World came out, had Doug and Mackenzie, Bob and Doug come out, does that make Wayne's World movie better? Were they able to see what kind of failed in their movie
Maybe
and made Wayne's World a better movie because of it?
It's very possible.
Because I don't feel like they learned anything from Wayne's World or so we're capable of it because they did go and make Wayne's World 2.
Yes.
So therefore,
which is still better than Strange Brew.
Yes, but it's definitely no Wayne's World.
Yeah,
but
that's a bad movie.
That being said, I feel like, the movie needed to happen in order to learn some things.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, I'm glad that it's out, but definitely don't go watch this movie.
No, but I think the movie would have been way better if Arnold Schwarzenegger had been in it.
Who would you have put him in?
Pick a role. It doesn't matter.
The hockey player, I think, would be
the hockey player.
Awesome.
That would be fantastic.
The evil German scientist that is the head of the.
I'll take care of the reporters.
Yeah. Oh, the lawyer. I'll handle the press. Would have been perfect.
I think he would have been better as Doug McKenzie.
Doug McKenzie. Oh, please. If we could have got rid of Dave Thomas and had Arnold.
Could you imagine Arnold's Canadian accent?
We have this mouse in this beer can, eh? And it's time we need you to give us the beer. This beer is for men. Babies drink milk.
It's a beaut.
That's right.
The Chopper is a beaut.
Oh my gosh. Arnold as Doug would have made this one of my top 10 movies of all time.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh my gosh. He makes everything better. Well, boys, it's been a pleasure having Brady here in the studio, sir. Hopefully this won't be the last time that we see you here in person.
I'll give it another 30 or 40 episodes.
All right, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, look, guys, next week we are going to be talking about our second movie to feature Christian Slater and Howie Long together in the same movie.
Awesome.
Wow.
Which previously was Broken Arrow, right? Now, if I told you this was a movie that starred Courtney Cox and David Arquette, what movie would you think I was talking about?
Scream.
Yeah, but it's not. This movie has David Arquette, Courtney Cox, Christian Slater, and Howie Long, and none of them are the stars of the movie. We're talking about an underappreciated action movie from 2001 called 3,000 Miles to Graceland, starring Kurt Russell and Kevin Costner, and just a ton of other people.
Yes.
Have you guys ever seen 3,000 Miles to Graceland?
I have not. I believe I was using this as an excuse to watch it.
Okay.
I have. I know I have watched at least parts of it. Like I've put it on one night late, and I probably fell asleep before I finished it. Not because of it was terrible, but just because I couldn't sleep. So I put on a movie.
As far as action movies go that revolve around Elvis impersonators, it's top 3.
Yeah.
What's number one? Please tell me you have a number one.
Well, let's not rate them
Well,
yet.
we'll
Wait
see.
for the episode.
Possibly Honeymoon in Vegas might be the number 1.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a good one.
With Nick Cage. We're the flying Elvises. Look, we'll see it next week. I haven't seen this movie since the first time I saw it, which was in 2001 when it came out, and I remember not liking it. But does 22-year-old me like the same things that 42-year-old me does? We'll see. I'm excited to go back to it and see, because I used to hate Wild Wild West, and then when I rewatched it for this podcast, I actually enjoyed it more than the first time. So we'll see what happens. Either way, I'm excited. But I also want to take a moment and say to everybody at home, we are getting close to about halfway through our movies that we drafted back at the movie draft episode. And we've got a lot more to come. And every month, we work into with our draft picks a new pick, someone that, is either recommended by one of our listeners or a guest that we're going to have on the show. And so just because we're working through our draft picks doesn't mean you can't recommend some movies for us to do. We have a few on the way that our listeners have asked for, and I'm excited to talk about Winners Take All, Sheena. We already did Boyfriend School was one of our listeners' requests, so please get them.
No Legs.
Mr. No Legs is coming up as well, so get those recommendations in. Can you please email the show at thisshowIstrash gmail.com. There's all kinds of ways to support, all kinds of free ways to support independent content creators. One of them is interacting with the show, sharing it on your social media, and also, just telling a friend about it. So shoot us an email. We appreciate that you listen to the show. Thank you guys for listening, and we will be back next week with 3,000 Miles to Graceland. So for Kurt Mummer, Clint Bush, and Brady Cox, I'm James Hauser. Thank you for listening.
I don't think we're going to convince people to go watch this.
No.